Hello, Tom DeHaas, OSU Extension, Lake County, coming at you from Grand River Valley, the heart of some of the finest grape production areas in the state of Ohio. And we want to talk to you about the interaction between spotted lanternfly and grapes and what you can do to help. Recently, ODA, ODNR, and Ohio State got together with a task force, and we've been drone flying over this area to look for Tree of Heaven to try to stop the spread of spotted lanternfly. Well, I'm standing in the heart of the grape vineyard production area of one of our local vineyards, and all around me you can see grapevines. On the wood line back behind me you can see a lot of deciduous trees that are in fall color now, and recently we did look for Tree of Heaven along these tree lines using a drone, and we'll show you some of that drone footage in a little bit. So we're here with Alistair Reynolds, and we're actually looking for Tree of Heaven, and we're going to do some drone flying. So Alistair, wave at everybody.
How are y'all doing?
That's good. So Alistair's in the process of tagging some Tree of Heaven that are fairly close to the grapevines here at the Ashtabula Agriculture Research Station from Ohio State, and we'll use these to try to spot for spotted lanternfly. So actually we have a whole grove of them growing right here. So Alistair's marking the big one, but then as we look through the woods, you got some that are right there, there's some more right there. So a whole grove of them. So earlier this summer, in late July, we did do a flyover, and we're flying over a grove of Tree of Heaven that is very close to Route 84 in Perry, Ohio. And the reason why we did drone flyovers with looking for Tree of Heaven is you can see those seed pods. They really show up on Tree of Heaven. So you can see the nursery here in the background, power lines going through there, and you can see the power plant in the far background. But again, now this is the grape area between 528 and 534. Did a lot of drone flyovers, and we were looking along the wood line. As we look along this wood line, as you come closer, you can see what looks like a compound leaf, and on closer inspection, that is actually staghorn sumac, and if you look very closely, you can see the red drupe fruits protruding up out of that, which is different than Tree of Heaven. Again, flying the wood line, a lot of maples. You can see the grapes and vineyards. We're looking at along the tree line for Tree of Heaven, and we did not really find any Tree of Heaven along the wood lines of the grapes. They tend to grow in a disturbed area. If you remember the footage earlier where Alistair was tagging some of those trees, there were piles of dirt and some railroad tracks, and we're going to see some of that footage shortly. So this is actually the the Ashtabula Agricultural Research Station, and you can see the grapes in the foreground, and we're flying along the wood line right here. And as we fly down through here, you can see the deer fence there. As we fly over that area, we will come upon those groves of Tree of Heaven. If we look really closely as we're coming down with the drone, you can see that Tree of Heaven right there, and as we get closer, you'll see the yellow tag that Alistair tagged it with earlier. So that is Tree of Heaven growing in basically a discarded pile of dirt. And as we look past that disturbed area into the woods, you can see that grove of trees that we talked about, the grove of the Tree of Heaven. See that grouping right there, the shorter trees is all Tree of Heaven. And again, Tree of Heaven, it's a concern when it's growing near grapes because it will be the host plant for spotted lanternfly. Spotted lanternfly can complete all of its life cycles on Tree of Heaven, from egg to nymph to adult, and then laying eggs again. Again, the grape research station. You can see the grapes. So located next to me over here is the Tree of Heaven, and up behind me is the Tree of Heaven. You can somewhat see the seed pods hanging from the Tree of Heaven, but the summer was a much better time to scout for Tree of Heaven, which is exactly what we did with the drone. One of the trees that we typically look for that's a look-alike for Tree of Heaven is staghorn sumac. You can see the red staghorn sumac in fall color behind me, and that's one of the things that we keep an eye out for, because it does look like Tree of Heaven, but it does not attract spotted lanternfly as Tree of Heaven does. We're looking at a great specimen of Tree of Heaven that's loaded with seed pods. If you get a little closer, you can just see that all those seed pods are all over there, and this is actually the host plant for spotted lanternfly, so very good that we can identify this. This is a great example of the flower pods, and you can see this is a female because it's loaded with seeds. You can see this tree behind me is loaded with seeds, which makes it invasive. Just loaded there. It's amazing. As I stand next to this Tree of Heaven, you can see that it'll grow just about anywhere, even through a fence. You notice the alligator bark looks very much like alligator skin there. But this tree is just growing right through the fence. It's amazing.